Hello, people! Thanks for joining me today. I'm Scotty D, and this is a 1974 Telecaster by Fender. It's serial number 549400, and it's in for a headstock crack and all new frets. So let's put her on the bench and check her out. There's a crack in the maple. Help! I've been told that right up till about 1980, all these fretboards have a 7 1/4 radius to them. So they're nice and curvy. And the height of these frets are down to 26 thousandths of an inch. That's a good time to change them out. Actually, they're more like 32 up here. They've probably been dressed a couple times. They went kind of heavy up here and didn't do them so much there. So yeah, it's got a couple buzzes and stuff that, especially up here when you're playing these notes, it's buzzy. Start by taking off her britches. Look at that. Ashtray. Smoke them if you got them. Alright, we got a string action of 4/64ths and 3/64ths on the treble strings. So 4/64th on the bass, 3/64ths on the treble. Let's check the relief in the neck. Long scale, 25 1/2 inch scale. 5 thousandths of an inch relief up here around the 10th, 11th, 9th, 10th, 12th, 13th, and 14th frets. It's a super straight. This neck is straight up here, and then it barely has 5 thousandths between here and here. Well, we'll get that all fixed up where the relief is between the 12th and 1st fret. Have you heard that Fender frets were put in sideways, not front ways? I've heard that. I'm taking a little lacquer retarder here and brushing it on either side. I don't know for sure yet if this is poly finish or lacquer finish. Anyways, I'm going to slice through the finish here next to the fret with this curved scalpel and pull one out and see how it comes. Yes, it does. So let me get this guy out of here. See how it looks. That looks okay. So even though urban legend says that they were put in sideways like this, they come out normal ways. No problemo. No chippage. So I don't have to take them out sideways. I'll brush each one with a lacquer retarder, score it, and pull them right out the front. I don't think this is lacquer because it didn't soften like I thought. I'll show you why. See that, how it chips? That's that finish. And I learned this from Ian Davlin on the Luth group. So if you want to learn cool stuff like this, I'm getting rid of that built-up poly right up next to the fret edge. It helps pull out cleaner and quicker, even though it takes a little time to do this ahead of time. But it's only $10 a month to join on Patreon. I put in $20 a month because I'm a giver, not a taker. I like to give. And yeah, I'm going to do this to all of them. It'll help each one of them come out nice and clean. So the reason that the finish is built up more here on the bridge side of the frets is because imagine when they sprayed this neck, it was hanging upside down. They're holding it from the side where it bolts onto the body, hanging it, and the lacquer, the poly builds up more on this edge, and there's nothing on this edge. Maybe on some of the frets. I'll check them all and just pop it off right here. Wow. Same thing over here on the nut. Chip away that edge. Can you believe this nut is the original? It lasted 50 years in here. Look how tall it is. Yeah. I have a 1980s fender kind of similar to this that's same way. Got the original nut so high. Not as much. It might be lacquer up here, I don't know. It might be a different finish on the headstock than on the fretboard because it's a different color and it has checking lines on it. So I'm gonna bet this is lacquer and that is poly. I don't know how they do that, but that's what it sure looks like to me. There's the nut warming station there. I leave it in there for about 5-10 minutes till it, well, say 5-6 minutes till it gets real hot. Maybe sometimes it starts to smoke and I pull it right out. See, usually I can push the bushing out with just using a dowel, pushing on it, or maybe tapping it with a hammer, but these babies aren't budging, and I'm kind of wondering if that's why the headstock split, because they forced a bushing. So anyways, I've got this little, it's like a little tiny little coffee table thing that I built out of oak, and I got this red oak dowel that I'm kind of, as I tighten the bar clamp, it pushes on the dowel from the inside, and man, I'm putting a lot of force on there and not getting any movement pulling that bushing out. So come on, man, what's going on here? Here it comes. Wow, that was crazy. These should be reamed out a little more before I put them back in. I believe that's why it cracked. Okay, I've got this tapered dowel here. I can kind of force the crack open a little bit. And I've got the Tight Bond 3, which is fairly thin, much thinner than Tight Bond original. Let's see if I can get it to wick in there. And now I've got the glue pushed in there. I've got a little caul for the bar clamp to register on. Got a little piece of felt there. And a wet Q-tip to clean up the glue squeeze out. Little felt on the pad there to help pad. Here the back side. Water-based glues clean up nice. Next day, come in and take a look at touching up the color here. So I'll try to widen the crack just a little bit so that I can get some pigment down in there, some tan. I call it like a warm tan. I don't know. I'll try a little bit of this powder first, the Blend All powder. A little bit of CA glue. Use some of the Glue Boost Fill and Finish Ultra Thin Sienna Acrylic Glue. Now this is wheat pigment. It's a Blend All powdered pigment with a little bit of shellac on a teeny tiny brush. I want to try to get rid of that black line. I'd rather have a lighter colored line that I can put darker colors on top of. Something to blend it all together. So first the white line or tan line, and now I'll take a little bit with a little bit of a red pigment or a tint, maybe like a red dye, like red mahogany, translucent dye mixed in with the shellac. A little bit of clear Glue Boost over top of that. Accelerator. More Glue Boost clear. Wait for it to cure. Accelerate thrice. Now these F-style tuning machines, I didn't realize it at the time, but they actually don't cover up that big hole right next to my touch-up area. So I'll get to that later. But here you'll see a chemical reaction happening with the Q-tip and the Glue Boost. It starts smoking. There was a spot on the back of the neck that was really dark, kind of like that dark area around the edge there next to the fret marker. And it was deep and it was jagged. So I dug it out and I'm dropping in some Glue Boost clear, and I'll go ahead and level sand and polish this once it cures. Right now I'm just going to fill it in and spray it a couple times with the accelerator. I'll go back to the headstock touch-up. I didn't close 100% of the way on the very end or top of the headstock, but you can see it's pretty banged up from 50 years of abuse. Once again, I'll take tinted with pigment shellac and just drop it in enough where that black line goes away. I'd rather have a white crack than a black crack. Now I'll take vintage amber shellac and wipe it on. Well, you see, it's a little too yellow. But good thing with shellac is it's reversible. You can wipe it off and you can sand it right off if it doesn't look right and have a do-over. In this case, I just let it dry for a minute and scuffed it up and kind of get my strategy together for the next round of color, which is a little bit of a brown. I want to try to draw in some grain lines, but it's a little dark. So I'll kind of smudge it. Give a little smudge and give it a little sand. Here's a little bit of what I call dirty amber. It's a translucent shellac. It's just two colors that I mixed together. It's vintage amber and medium brown. A little more of the glue boost on a smoking Q-tip. Well, you guys ever smoked a Q-tip, but it don't taste too good. Now, I'm going to wet sand with the 1200 through 3000 grit. Level sand and polish. This is the Toll Cut sandpaper and a Kovacs sanding block. It's kind of like a little square hockey puck. Ream, 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 ream. I had to use a little bit of the brown liquid hide glue. So far so good today with the frets. We're putting them in. We're bending them to 7 1/4 radius. And we're hammering them in with the dead blow hammer. I'm trying to think if I want to maybe put in a smaller size up here and get a little fall away. I probably will. These last 8 frets. I'm going to do a little shorter, about 0.010 of an inch shorter for these last 10. Clean out these slots and we'll I'm actually going to remove the neck and pound them in over here on the bench. I'm chamfering the fret slots, just the top edge of each fret slot. I'm going to put in 2 more of the exact same size as 1 through 13. So 1 through 15 will be a tall size, about 45,000ths of an inch tall. And then the final 6 highest frets are going to be a little shorter. It'll definitely give us a little fall away at the top of the fret slots. I'll take my fret depth saw and get the proper depth in there. And what I was doing when I was holding that refret saw at an angle was I was widening the fret slot a little bit to accept the fret tang. StewMac fret wire, they say that all the tangs are the same, but mine aren't. I don't know what the deal is, but once I got up to this shorter size, I did not need to widen the fret slots at all. They fit right in quite a bit better than the bigger fret wire. So we'll clean out the slots with naphtha on a paper towel. And then this discoloration here on the polyester, I ended up using acetone to remove it. Pretty nice. So this syringe is filled with the liquid hide glue, the brown Franklin Tight Bond liquid brown hide glue. I warm it up a little bit and then I put in the fret. So this is still the larger sized wire. And then that's fret number 14. Fret number 15, same thing. Check each installation with the feeler gauge, 0.003 of an inch. Make sure it's seated nicely. And I'm getting ready for the 15th fret. Using that sideways, hitting the sidewall of the fret slots. That's what's going on there. Some people like to use power tools to do that. I sure don't. It doesn't take a whole lot to widen it. Maple's a weird wood. It's much harder than rosewood, and it's less porous than ebony too. And here goes that brown hide glue. I'll spread it around with an X-Acto blade. Then I'll drive her home. I really do like taking the neck off the body for this area. And since the neck's off the body, I like to hold it in my Total Vise number 7. I can hold it horizontally and put the trash can right underneath the neck and clip off all the excess fret ends the next day, that is, and they fall right in the trash. The other reason I like to remove the neck from the body is that if you're clipping fret ends right over the lacquer and you've got the body right there and you're needing to trim fret ends and stuff, it's pretty hairy working right next to the lacquer. The tool can hit the lacquer real easy. But while the neck is in the vise, I may as well dress those fret ends and bevel them. All it takes is a little stabilization from my right hand, and the left hand holds the file. Once I get this area towards the neck heel, I'll put it back on the body. He also wanted me to swap out his pickguard. We're going from black to white, and it doesn't fit. It's going to take a lot of work to make this one fit. The pickup route's too small, and the neck route isn't quite deep enough, so it's pushing everything back towards the bridge too far. So I'll have to make some adjustments to the pickup hole and the neck hole. We'll do some scraping and filing, and then we'll get her to fit on there. All right, now back to that area on the back of the neck. This part of the neck is really important. It's where your thumb rests when you're doing all those first position chords. These are the money chords. This is the cowboy chords. I mean, you could sit down singing and playing the guitar and play the whole night and never leave that one position and make a ton of money. And it was dark, it was deep and jagged, and it looked even worse than that little area I'm showing you right here on the picture in a picture. That spot is just down the neck slightly, and it's not even near as deep as the spot where I'm fixing it. It was really didn't feel good on your thumb. So I know it's still a little bit discolored when I'm finished, but it's nowhere near as dark as it originally was. It was almost black, and it was, like I said, it just felt horrible. It's right where your thumb goes. It's the most important part of the neck to have it be smooth. And we'll get her there. We'll get it feeling really smooth. I'll wet sand, and then I'll polish it with the Meguiar's 105 Ultra Cut Compound. It looks pretty good. The main thing is that it feels good. Now, 2 of the neck holes were stripped. So I plugged them. And now we'll trim them. I'll re-drill these holes once I have it clamped back down to the body. I'll be able to correct the neck alignment, the string alignment on the neck. This here is a Mohawk finish repair fill stick. There was a couple fret ends where it looked like there was a little gap underneath the tangs, and so that fills it in It's just a real fast way to fill that in, and then I can put a clear finish over top. I'll get started with the crowning of the frets after leveling. This neck did take quite a while to get it right. There were some humps in it, and since it's a pre-finished maple wood neck, I didn't want to sand off the finish and correct the wood. I'm just gonna level and take all the material off the tops of the frets as needed. So notice here, I always find this interesting, how the paint can wear off, but there's still a finish covering the wood. I mean, it's down to bare wood, but it's not bare wood, right? It's still got a thick finish over the wood. So what that is a polyester sealer coat that they spray at the factory. And then they put the color on top. What the polyester sealer coat does is it fills in all the grain of the ash wood, because this ash is very porous and has a lot of grain to it. And anyways, this makes a nice smooth mirror-like surface for the color to go on top of. So that's why sometimes when it wears off, it still looks glossy and nice. Alright, well now we're done with all the neck finagling. Frets are partially crowned, and I'm going to slap on the Music Nomad fret shield and crown and polish the rest of it. I'll run this 220 grit over all the frets with this scrub block. Then I'll do 320. Then I'll do a maroon Scotch-Brite pad. Then I'll pick back up with 400 through 1000. Then I'll hit it with a gray Scotch-Brite pad. And then I'll do 1200, 1500, and 2000. All with the grain of the wood, cross grain to the frets. And then finally I do a 4/0 steel wool along the length of each fret, cross grain to the wood, all without taping it, and all without grasping small pieces of sandpaper or micromesh. Alright, now I'm done with all these grits. I'm going to throw them in the trash. We'll get making a new nut and then we'll be done with this job. I use this little radius thing to make sure that the bottom of the nut, the bone nut, is 7 1/4 radius. Get it in there, make sure it fits. Clean out the nut slot. We're going to be shaping the top and then cutting it to length. We'll use a disc sander for that. For the nut slot, I give you the rubberiest, cheapest, crappiest glue in the world, Titebond. It's about the only thing I use it for. I mean, I'll use it once in a while, but it's not my main go-to, because after all, it is the cheapest glue in the world. And it's rubber. Synthetic. Not good. I like crisp, articulate sounding guitars. And so do my customers, most of the time. So we'll leave the Titebond for the carpenters and the cheapos. Here's the final look at the color touch-up that I did on that dark colored crack. I just touched up the back and the top of the headstock. Left the face of the headstock natural. Doesn't look too bad. I could have made it look worse if I tried to touch it up. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I really appreciate it. I'm finding out this thing really sounds like a Tele. I guess Teles should sound like Teles. But this one really sounds nice.